Hi, everyone. My name is Bridget White, and welcome to our podcast, Keeping It Together, where we invite guests to discuss what kept them well during the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, I'm joined by our guest, who is also the reason why we have this podcast, Dr. Lindsay Crowshoe. Lindsay, could you give us a bit of information, a little introduction about who you are and what you do?
Sure thing, Bridget. So my name is Lindsay Crowshoe. I'm from the Piikani Nation, one of the Blackfoot tribes, and way down by Pincher Creek. I am a family doctor, and I work downtown at the Elbow River Healing Lodge and Urban Indigenous Health Clinic. And I'm a researcher. I do research at the University of Calgary, and I support lots of education. I do a lot of teaching in the med school. My role, I'm an associate professor in family medicine, and I have an administrative role in the medical school as an assistant dean. That makes me support and try to support the medical school and getting more Indigenous people in and engaging with community in better ways.
What was your experience of the pandemic as a doctor, but also just as a person going through it like everyone?
As a doctor, there are a bazillion meetings, like meetings every day, during the day, in the morning, over lunch hour, during clinic, in the evenings. There was a lot of uncertainty, but there was a lot of work going on and new knowledge coming out that we had to make sense of. And as a clinic, we had to make some changes. We were told that we had to shut down. We were told that we had to have these protocols in place. There was supply shortages. It was months and months and years of always changing. Kind of like it shifted all the time, and it was quite stressful for all of us. It's stressful for our patients, but it opened up a different type of clinic, right? We started to see more people virtually, and that made the province had to shift codes on how physicians bill and code for diagnoses and all that kind of stuff. Virtual care on the phone, virtual care on a computer screen, all that started to open up. And I think that was a really good thing. Many things we really need to see people face to face. And when our clinics opened up, we had to figure out how to do that according to all the protocols with masks and gloves or whatever, right? There's all this, at times you had to wear full body armor, right? Just a gown and mask and a face shield and gloves, and it became kind of a big pain in the butt. But over time, we all got used to it. My clinic got really busy, because people could do virtual appointments. It was an easier access for my patients. The people that had barriers to come had more barriers, and people were sicker. So no, we got super busy, and we're still really busy in clinic. And it's a blended model of some virtual as well as face-to-face. And things are settling down now, of course. I think we're still seeing the remnants of that. A lot of my patients have had a lot of isolation socially and have felt disconnected, and mental health issues kind of cropped up. So there are a lot of those things. There are a lot of physical health issues that kind of got unattended to that cropped up and are worse and that we have to address. But I think it's been a lot of additional work, a lot of different work, but also a lot of interestingly better work with the shifting to a virtual mode. Yeah.
And it also sounds like maybe that kind of inspired this podcast, like the things that your patients were going through. It's nice to have a podcast like this where you can listen to it and hear about what other people are doing to help their mental health through COVID and, in the days, quote unquote, post-COVID. But yeah, that's very interesting. Sounds like a time of lots of challenges, but lots of opportunities too. I was wondering also what you felt, what was your personal experience going through COVID?
Busy, super busy. My other role as a researcher and an administrator within the medical school just all those same meetings that we had for clinical aspects, we had to have all those same meetings for research and teaching and administration in the medical school. So every day was like, oh, so busy. And then all of a sudden, people realized, hey, we can just have Zoom meetings. And then people realized you can just have Zoom meetings back to back. And then all of a sudden, I was having these Zoom meetings back to back from like 7, 8 in the morning till 6, 7, 8 at night, and wondering, whoa, how is this possible? Like in the past, I never had this many meetings, and if I did have meetings, I could stand up, walk down the hallway, go to the bathroom, get a snack, say hello to somebody, have a visit. But all of a sudden, no, my day to day got really busy, so I had to try to find ways to like keep myself um, focused on things and saying. So lots of projects on the side was what I had going on. We'll talk about one of the things that kind of kept it together for me was around bikes and biking. And I was over the course of 1 year of the pandemic, I was refurbishing a whole bunch of cheapo bikes that I was getting from my family and friends and making e-bikes out of them. Because I like, oh, in order to like cope with this, I just need to learn something different. And I learned about how to furbish e-bikes. Yeah, we as a family we spent a lot of time together. And did it affect my mental health? I don't think so. I just think it gave me a chance to like think about other things and then realize, wow, life is too busy, and I got to find things that make life good.
So for you, that was biking and refurbishing bikes. So tell me a little bit about that.
I was in meetings, and I would like step outside the house once in a while. And I often would go outside and see people ride their bikes by. And I'm like, man, my day is so busy. I wish I could be riding my bike as people would go by. Cause like I watch people ride their bikes and they have this big smile on their face. Cause it's like they go into this place of like, this is really nice. And I'm not really have to focusing on work. I'm just riding my bike, wind's on my face, sun's coming down on me, and I'm going through the neighborhood. I see all these houses, trees, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I thought, well, maybe I could work on some bikes, because when I was in grade 8 or 9, my sister-in-law gave me her old 10-speed bike because I didn't have a bike, but it was all busted up and seized up, and I had no money, and I just, I took it apart.
Are you sick of spilling coffee all over yourself with dilapidated old travel coffee mugs? Are you embarrassed when your leaky water jug makes you look like a slob? Well, good news. Adam here from Keeping It Together podcast, where I'm excited to introduce coffee mugs and water bottles from one of our sponsors, the Indigenous Primary Healthcare and Policy Research Network, or the IPHCPR. These drinking devices are not only high quality enough to keep you dry, but they also look cool, sporting the IPHCPR logo on the side. Keep a lookout for our events and podcasts to see how you can get your hands on one.
And I looked at every single piece because I was like super curious, like, what does this do? Why is this like that? How can I fix this? And so with no money, a lot of elbow grease and a few tools here and there, I just took apart this 10-speed, figured it out, put it back together, and I had a working bike. And I remembered that during COVID, and I thought, how about I just like make some bikes? Because I think I had this idea of wanting to make some e-bikes for my kids so that we can go into this really far place in the backcountry to berry pick. And it's like 8 kilometers of walking, or we can bike in, which we do with regular bikes. That's cool. But what if we had these e-bikes? Because everybody was buying and these e-bikes all of a sudden. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And so I made a bunch of e-bikes during my meeting. So up behind me, people would see a bike. I made 9 bikes, right? I would just find some cheapo Canadian Tire bikes and strip it all off and buy these electric units that go into the crankshaft where the pedals are from China. So I was sourcing all these parts all over the place. So these are things that kind of kept my mind occupied between the busyness of COVID. It was like, how do e-bikes work? How do bikes work? How can I what can I do to take them apart and make them super cool? And when I made one, and I gave it to a family member, and I saw their face, when they would like press on the pedal and all of a sudden they get a zoom of energy. It was like, whoa, that's the whole reason why I made these bikes. So I just wanted to see other people have that same happiness that I see when people are riding by, but the e-bike had this other degree of happiness that would like I would see in people's face, and that just made me feel super cool, super great. And so anyway, I was really happy about the idea. For me, the building of the bikes or the fixing of a bike or taking them apart was just kind of like takes my mind off of troubles, and learning about, how to do it well, what are bearings, torques, you know, how to make that bike work or work better was just really satisfying. And it was something I can do within a few minutes here and there, or all in an evening or whatever. And so over the course of many days, I built 9 refurbished and rebuilt and built up 9 e-bikes.
Wow, that's a lot of work. 9.
I love bike riding as well, right?
I was going to ask, have you gotten the chance to get out there and actually go out on the bikes?
Yeah, we took those e-bikes out up to the mountains quite a few times to go berry picking. I bought them I put them together and put racks on them so they can put bags on the back so we can go camping. And so
Right.
I set up the whole family with we can like carry our equipment, your stoves, your tents and all that stuff, and we just put them on these pannier bags and we like zip out to the forestry and to the mountains, and just like backcountry camp on those things and stick on our fishing rods and go out, do some fly fishing, and then at the end of the summers we would go for huckleberry picking, and that was often a big journey. Like you'd have to travel quite far, and then you'd have to hike up a mountain. So the less energy you would spend to get to the base of the mountain, the better. Anyway, that's what I built those for, and I also built a bunch of aluminum trailers to drag our stuff around.
Oh, wow.
So I have these little aluminum bike trailers that I fabricated that we stick our gear on if we got a lot of gear.
Right.
Anyway, it's all part of feeling. I find that it's important for me to have my hands working on something and figuring something out as I'm in between the moments that I'm doing research or seeing patients or having meetings and stuff.
Yeah, and we've talked to a few other people like Pam, who was doing beading, and she said the same thing, where it's nice to be able to do something with your hands and you're only thinking about that one thing while you're doing it, and it kind of gives you a little mental break from the world and what's going on. And that's definitely a huge aspect of being well and something that you can keep in your kit. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Lindsay, for joining us. This is Keeping It Together. I'm Bridget White, and this is Dr. Lindsay Crowshoe. And if you want to be featured on this podcast, please let us know. We will link all of our social media sites and our email, and you can contact us in any way you prefer. And we will see you soon. Thanks again.